I'm at 4218 Marburg Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We're looking for any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. The access point here is this PVC stack, so it does look like it has been replaced. This would have been most likely cast iron when it was originally installed. And you can see there is the front of the house. That's the front. And you can see as you come down the steps, we're right here behind the washer and dryer. So we're going to go in here and hopefully we don't get anything on the front of the camera. As soon as I said that, we just have to run a little bit of water here in the base. Okay, so as you can see, in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the angle at which the camera is laying, and so as you can see, we're still in the stack. There's the end of the PVC, and we go down to clay underneath the floor. Clay is a good material. I mean, although it can be brittle, it is, there's no life expectancy with it. It's been around for 100 years, and as long as the ground doesn't start moving, it can be around for a long time. So, the main thing is that, or I should say the most common thing we see with this, is root intrusion just due to the short distances between connections. If you look, you have a seam there, and then about every 3 feet you can see a pipe connection coming in from the right. But about every 3 feet usually you have another section of pipe. So it's not real long sections. And then I just want to note this too. That is a very minor belly. That lens is only about a ½ an inch off the bottom of the pipe, and this is a 6-inch diameter pipe, so this is very little water. If I need to, I can actually which I may end up doing depending on how much of this is obscuring the view, I have a standoff, because you can see the flashes of open pipe there where I'm right at the edge of the water line, so it might be a good idea for me to go ahead and do that. Sometimes when you pull back, you can see better than when you're pushing out, just due to the fact that as I'm pushing forward, a lot of times I'm kind of like a plow. I'm pushing forward and it's plowing up in front of the lens on the camera. When you're pulling back, you're actually drawing away from it, so you're not creating that wave in front of the camera. But we'll check that out, see how much of this we need to go through, and if I do need to use that. So we'll go through it all here, and then if I need to, I will go back through the section of pipe that I need to re-inspect. Okay. This is a little bit different age of clay. It's about a change in the color. But so far the line looks really good. It looks like we have a little bit of root intrusion there. Very, very minor amount. Right there getting in at the connection. It's 62 feet, and that may be off the property, depending on how close we are to the main. So far that was the only thing I've seen, so hopefully we're getting close to the main, and the only thing that we have of any note will be that little bit of root intrusion there. You can see we're at about a 15-degree drop here. And so we're most likely getting very close to the main, and it's just trying to get deep in a hurry. There, right in front of us, is the main. You can see the reflection off the side of the pipe there. And so there is the sewer main out in the street. It's pretty large because these are shared sewers, meaning they have storm. It's a combination storm and sanitary, and so they're pretty large sewer pipes. But the line looked really good. Structurally, the line looked great. You just have about 62 feet there, like we mentioned. There's a little tiny bit of root intrusion. There's really not much you can do about that. You could add some chemical, some Rudex maybe, just to kind of burn those back and make sure that they don't grow any further and cause any more issues. I should say, or cause any issues, because right now there's no, it's not causing any issues. It's not obstructing flow at all. Based off the placement of the main, I will actually, I'm going to go get a standoff for the camera, and so as I'm pulling back here, I will stop and locate where this is, where the little bit of roots is, and I'm just going to see if that's even on the property, so that if this does ever cause any structural issues, that, you know, that it will be, it won't be the concern of the homeowner. They would be able to pass this off to the Metropolitan Sewer District. You would have to be responsible for the maintenance of the roots, but if there was ever a break or anything in this area, they would, the Metropolitan Sewer District of Cincinnati would make the repair. But we don't know that yet, so I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to go out and locate exactly where this is, so we know if it's on or off the property. Okay, this is like right at the borderline. It's hard to tell without being able to look. It's probably right around where the demarcation line is between private and MSD. I mean, it's not a big deal right now, and this, as long as you you know, treat this with like a Rudex about once a year. I don't even see really many trees near here, so I'm not sure exactly what this is coming from, but excuse me. But what I would do is treat this with like a Rudex about once a year. I don't know, it used to cost about $35 a bottle, and you pour it down the line and it foams up. There are directions obviously on the bottle, so that would be a good thing for preventative maintenance, and then maybe have it checked again in a few years and see if it's even worth doing it once a year. You might be able to get away with it on longer intervals, because that is a very, you know, was it 62 feet is a very minor amount of roots. It's just coming in at the flow line, so it could catch toilet paper, large amounts of toilet paper, or you shouldn't be using wet wipes, or at least flushing them, but you know, those are also another thing that they can catch on that. And because they don't break down, it'd be easy for them to catch on some other some other stuff behind it and cause backups. But that was the only thing I found. I am going to put a standoff on the camera to get about, and we'll go back through about the first 20 feet. But you see, there are some what seem to be like deposit lines on the left and the right. There could be some longitudinal cracks, but the chances are those cracks have been there for ages. The pipes are keeping shape. There'd be no need to do any repairs to that. hoping that as I draw back, we won't see any, that we'll be able to see a little bit more in those spots that have a little bit of water there inside the house here. But yeah, you can see there. Yeah, we'll have to go back through about the first 25 feet, I believe, so we can see above that water line. You can see the flashes. It's just barely above the lens. And so we'll put just a little standoff on this thing, and we'll run back through, like I said, the first 25 feet, get a better look at it. But it's really not even, it's only about 10 feet, I believe. So. Okay. We are back out of the line. Going to add that standoff here. And we'll go back through. So also kind of direct the camera up a little bit towards the top of the pipe when we draw back, and maybe dive a little bit on the way out, but this is only given like an extra ½ inch or so. So we'll get the line. But you can see how it holds it just above, so we can get a look at the pipe in this area. You can see even with that there's some, still pushes the camera kind of down and into the water. So we'll go out to about 30 feet. And then we'll pull back. Okay, I believe we are past that whole thing, and so we'll go back now and look at the top. About here, back to the edge. It's like a very hairline, little half a crack there on that spot, but again, the line is holding shape. It's not causing any obstructions or any issues. So the only thing I've really seen to note was the root intrusion there at 62 feet. Everything else is kind of normal age stuff with a pipe this old. I mean, it's 100 years old. I believe the house was built in 28 or so, 1928. And so you're talking about a 100-year-old pipe. And so most of that stuff, like I mentioned earlier, we see like the little hairline cracks that are longitudinal, stuff like that, that as long as the pipe is holding shape, you know, it's being held together. It's probably been there for years, decades probably. So I'm just trying to rinse off the camera a little bit here. But the line looked great structurally. Like I said, some of those little situations where you have some little hairline cracks, and the only time those need to worry is if the ground starts shifting, like I mentioned earlier. Right now the line looks great. It's open and flowing at the time of inspection. There's the root intrusion at 62 feet. Then I'm going to recommend some chemical treatment like Root X to be used just to kind of burn that back. And again, the directions are on there. And then possibly once a year, you want to treat it about once a year, maybe for a few years, and then have the line re-inspected. And that way you can see how often maintenance is needed, if at all. You may find that you could get away with it a lot less often, especially with that being the only spot of root intrusion. you may find that you can get away with it if it still is there every 2 years or 3 years or longer. But like I said, I'm just going to recommend a chemical treatment and then a follow-up inspection in a few years after yearly treatments, just to see kind of where you stand, to make sure that what kind of maintenance schedule you need to keep. But that'll end the inspection for 4218 Marburg Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio.